Now, no matter how good a Power Ranger season is, there's always going to be some Rangers that are neglected. It's the nature of, having a large cast. And it's one of the main reasons why I really don't like it whenever they have more than 6 Rangers, is because it's just really difficult to focus on all the characters. So pretty much every season of Power Rangers has an underrated Ranger, whether it's because of personality, lack of use, and the Sentai counterpart caused the issue because they just dropped storylines, or even in some cases where the character was just really bad, but I still believe that there was actually a potential of being something good. I've said it in the past. Every character in Power Rangers, whether I hate them or not, there was always a potential of being good. And for the most part, the characters have really good initial ideas or characteristics that they can start with. It's just that the writer, for whatever reason, fails to utilize everything about the character, or they just went in a direction that just sucked.
Noah.
Let's begin with Noah. Now, obviously, Megaforce and Super Megaforce were a contentious seasons for fans because of so many mess ups and screw ups, and most of the characters are not really well liked except for a few of them, and Noah really just did not stand out. Now, of course, Noah is the tech genius of the team. I always believed he had the potential of being a really interesting character because between the two Sentai counterparts' backstories and things, and plus Noah's personality, I believe he could have been used in a really interesting way. Unlike the other past tech geeks like Billy and Rose, for example, Noah was more kind of like your everyday man tech geek, where he understood his stuff. He's more simplistic, more of like the handyman, where, yeah, you know what? I really don't know everything about everything, but I'm gonna take a crack at it. I'm gonna try to repair it or fix any serious issues that crop up in a situation. So it's different versus like Sarah from Ninja Steel, who has this like amazing brain, which is a big plot problem in the season, inventing all this crazy stuff, where it's just like, oh yeah, we got a smart guy on the team. He doesn't have the IQ of like 3,000. He's more simplified. I think it's more interesting where the character is like, he's curious into understanding how to fix things, or like he learns how to things progress and stuff, kind of like how Shelby did in that particular episode when she was designing a lot of the equipment to locate the energems and the other dinosaurs, in that same type of idea, versus like Billy, who knows a ton of material and can pretty much invent virtually anything. And also because Noah has the elements from his Super Sentai counterpart, which are more serious, more battle ready. The problem is they just did not utilize the Sentai aspect of the character that they could have pulled from, and they just really didn't get to do anything. So he just ended up just being relegated to info dumps. Oh, I found the Power Rangers website, which gives me all the basic information of the teams, or he remembers key details, which he just kind of kit bashed other Sentai characters into Noah. So they really didn't know what to do with him, and it was just like a missed opportunity for the character to grow and be more important to the season, which you could say to all of the Megaforce / Super Megaforce characters. They just didn't really have any real good direction to go in.
Jaden.
Now, number 9 will probably surprise a few of you. It's like Jaden. He's basically a robot who has really no emotions. And again, they were trying to copy what they were doing in Shinkenger to a very high degree, but it just fell flat because Jaden really had no personality. But you could see there was something there. That's the reason why I wanted to put him on the list. I hate Jaden as much as everyone else because he was such robotic, he was so stiff. I must not fail. It became a meme for a reason. It's because he just had no emotional level. Even when he's supposed to be emotional, it just wasn't there. It's like they went too hard in one direction. And I believe they could have really got him to work if they allowed him to be more emotional, because there's bits and pieces with Antonio where it's like, oh yeah, he had an ordinary regular life. I mean, he still had to deal with the whole samurai stuff, but when he was with Antonio as a child, there was some, a basic friendship there. It was just this whole, we're going to copy Shinkenger, but we're going to lose all the aspects of having a character here. That's the one thing I will give Jason, because, I always complained about how Jason was a good leader, but he really didn't get anything to do. Basically, what happened to Jaden is the same way, except in Jason's case, you could see his personality. He was the leader. He didn't really get that much to do or any real focus episode, but he wasn't obnoxious or annoying. He was also, on top of it, he was your musclehead, but he was not the stereotypical musclehead. It helped because Jason was not only just the leader for the Rangers, but he was also a mentor for, martial arts. So he understood how to guide people into like a good positive direction and help them grow as a character. So while I do have complaints about Jason because he just didn't get any focus, he did a lot of stuff in the background of the team as being leader and also kind of a father figure, which is what Jaden lacked. If Jaden had gotten those elements of Jason into his personality, I think he would have been a really good, interesting leader, especially when it came to Lauren, when she came into the season at, near the end of the season. I think that was a complete waste. I mean, it was also a waste in Shinkenger, but they handled it much better. But I really think if they wanted to warm everyone up to Jaden, you needed to have many episodes with Lauren and Jaden working together. Lauren helps break that robotic problem Jaden had, where we can finally go, oh yeah, this. And then you can also tie it together with Antonio so that he has two people that he knows for a very long time, even though Lauren was kept as a secret. That is the reason why I say he's an underrated Ranger, because that potential was really there if they were able to utilize all three characters and just be like, yeah, we're copying Shinkenger, but screw how little they used of Kaoru in that. We're going to use Lauren much more and build up Jaden that way to help, get him out of this robotic state. It's just a missed opportunity.
Philip.
Now, like I said, Dino Charge had 10 Rangers, and that was going to be a problem no matter what. It was a problem in Kyoryuger as well, and they had 10 extra episodes to work with. Out of all the extra Rangers, Philip had the really cool, interesting potential because it was something that they really didn't do. It's like, whenever a Ranger is chosen, it's usually, someone who either, they can have skills, of course. I'm not saying like everyone's either like, simplistic and basic. There's some that are geniuses. There's some that know how to fight really well. But a lot of times people, are average folks, like Kimberly. She's just, average girl that just knows gymnastics and became a Ranger. Philip, on the other hand, is this rich guy. Yeah, he was snobby in the beginning, and he learned how to, become, understand average people, not to, try to exploit the dino gems, and he became a Ranger, which I liked. That was one of my favorite parts about the character, because he grew and learned how to do those things. But, the aspect of having someone who has this power, this family of riches, this ability to access things. They never really explored that in a big manner. Yeah, we had other Rangers in the past who came from wealth, but they either was ignored or just a side thing, like Kelsey, for example. She had a very rich grandmother, and she was focused in that one particular episode that she had problems with. But again, that wealth was really a no factor to Kelsey's character. The same thing with Wes. Again, he comes from a millionaire family, but they didn't really do anything because they went in the direction of Wes wants to be himself. He doesn't want to rely on his father. So again, we couldn't deal with, the aspect of, oh, we have all this money behind Rangers. What can we do with it? Yes, I understand he was one of the extra Rangers and they couldn't really use him often because, again, Kyoryuger dictated how much they can use, budget restraints. But it was such a wasted opportunity where it's like, wow, you have this rich guy and you could have built like really unique episodes where, maybe like Prince Philip and Ivan, because again, I know they're related in story-wise, but they never really delved into it. Like there could have been an episode where Ivan was, he came from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. There should have been an episode that really focused on him yearning for that time, and Prince Philip could have actually given him that, because he has the money and the resources, and we could have explored that. And then maybe also Prince Philip could have expanded on Kendall's base of operations. Maybe they could have, gone to maybe they could have built a backup base, and that could have filtered into the story. Or we could have expanded on ways to improve the suits by, having this extra money. I also know, we had Mr. Harford. He was a rich guy who was the one who funded all this, and that's a similar aspect. But we just never really focused it on with an actual Ranger a part of the team. And I think they could have explored much more interesting stories with Prince Philip. It just really didn't allow them to explore that. Dominic in Jungle Fury was a really wasted opportunity. I was really happy that Dominic didn't follow into like Geki Ranger's direction of the character. He was more original. Like the one thing that we really didn't like delve into is Dominic and RJ's, like, you know, because they were with each other at that time in the school, and we really didn't get that much backstory with them or episodes featuring just them. Because, you know, everyone loved RJ. And Dominic, you know, he's the more older, experienced ranger for the team. There could have been several episodes where they could have, you know, done RJ and Dominic episodes focusing on them. Maybe, you know, RJ over the years had learned a lot more stuff and Dominic, since he was exploring, he learned his own way, and then they clashed because I want to do it this way, I want to do it that way. But like Dominic became this, like, you know, a character that was just there, which was, you know, disappointing because, again, Geki Chopper and Geki Ranger did a lot more than compared to Dominic, but I actually like Dominic's personality more than Geki Chopper because Geki Chopper was like bordering on like how Jan acted in Geki Ranger, so the characters were right up to each other, very similar, so I really didn't like that. So while Dominic was more of like, yeah, he was fun, but he did have that leader aspect that you could have like delved into, and more RJ, more backstory of Mastermind. It would have been cool to have seen him during more of like, you know, when the school was open and everything was normal at the time, and then they could have gone into it. I also believe they could have, you know, expanded Dominic's character if they had made him like a friend to Jared, and he could have been the one to break him out of the spell. But unfortunately, just didn't really use Dominic in a really interesting way, which, you know, I think it was a really big missed opportunity for Jungle Fury. There was a lot of things that were a missed opportunity in Jungle Fury, but, you know, at the time, that was nearing the end of the show's cancellation, so, you know, they probably just didn't really care what they were doing at that point. Madison. Now, one character that was really neglected to the point where even the show points it out is Madison in Mystic Force, which again is the fault of, you know, them just going away from the Sentai footage, which, you know, it makes sense. There was just no way to use any of the Maji Ranger elements of the character in Madison, but then what do? The point is that for a writer, that's like perfect. It's like Madison, I liked her whole video camera aspect of her. Now, I know it could have become a really annoying to have her constantly floating around with the video camera and stuff, but I think it really should have been used in several more episodes. Like, you know, one particular episode they could have done was she was videotaping, you know, a diary as being a ranger, and this was just for her. She understood that, oh, okay, we don't share this. This is just for archives for her to look back on, and or, you know, help them train and learn. Because that aspect of her videoing was like, oh, you can use that for like a really interesting story. But you could have had several other episodes like the videotape or the video camera fell into the wrong hands, and civilians found out who the Rangers were just because Madison's camera was exposed, and they, you know, got onto the news, and everyone found out who they were. Because at the end of the day, the Rangers did finally reveal themselves for the city, and I thought that would have been a cool way to actually do it. What if this was part of the finale and Madison's camera could have been used as the MacGuffin to show everyone these were the Rangers and this is what they were doing and bring them in? That's what I think that they missed on Madison's character. And of course, her being the sister of Vita, it's like nothing of that really went anywhere. While in Maji Ranger, the sisters in there, they did a whole bunch of stuff in that show. They argued, they had funny, goofy episodes. That's the thing that was missing with Vita and Madison. Yeah, Vita and Madison's characters were great, but again, it's just the chemistry between the two sisters just wasn't there. I like the character in general because she's like really fun, lovable. She wants to help out if she can. She doesn't like, you know, everyone yelling or arguing. She always tries to be the level head. So I wish they had done more episodes in there than just, you know, the Gingy episode, the Daggeron episode, and that was really it. Dax. Now, this character, of course, everyone hates. And I don't blame anyone. See, even though I love Dax, because I just loved his quirky nature, I totally understand why everyone hates him, and it's like, you know, I agree too. It's just like he can be obnoxious, but I think the aspect that they really underutilized was his movie aspects, because all they really did with that is like he would either reference something or reference, you know, a joke from like past PR. He would reference an episode title. He was mainly just for like almost a fourth wall break, but they really didn't use any, thing more so like past the pilot where, oh, he showed something because he's a stunt guy. You have this aspect of a character who works in the movie industry, don't do anything with that, and he's a stunt guy, so he should be doing like way more stuff in that aspect, or we could have gotten more information on background of the character. I think in general the Overdrive cast in general just did not really have any backstories delved into besides the few ones they focused on. It's just pretty much just everyone was just where they came from was just immediately dropped, which is unfortunate. But I think Dax, out of all of them, had the most interesting because he would have been with celebrities, he would have been with a crummy, stunt work is hard, and you don't really get great pay, you get pain. So he kind of lived the Power Ranger life in the sense of, yeah, I don't really get any recognition, but I save everyone's butt by doing this work. So he shared that, and it's just like they just never utilized those aspects, and he was just really mainly the goofball. And he's a drastic difference from Sota in Bokenger, which I did like. I didn't want him to be an exact copy because I liked both characters in that regard. They were different. It's just that there could have been an episode where Dax was like, he's been through stunts, he's been through being Rangers, and he got to the point where he was so fed up with being like unknown every which way that he's like, you know what? I don't care about this. I'm going to tell everyone I'm a Ranger, and then you deal with that in a story. That would have been great. They could have, reversed it with either a magic spell or the Corona Aurora, or they could have left it as is. Like, would it have been such of a big deal if one of the Rangers was known to the round of the world? I think it would have been an interesting aspect, which again, missed opportunity with Dax. And, it would also made him a little bit more, human rather than just being a walking, like, ha ha ha, here's the reference to this PR episode title.
Danny.
Now, Danny was another unfortunate, issue with because of his Sentai counterpart. Gal Black was underutilized as well, so both characters suffered basically the same fate. After his whole, on and off girlfriend, he pretty much became, a dead weight besides the whole meme, never give up, and, with the whole Mac stuff, which again is fine that they did that, basically copy what they did in Gal Ranger, but it's like Danny, I really believe he had the potential of being interesting because, again, he's very introverted. He doesn't really like working with people. He doesn't like, it's like, I don't really believe in myself. So that was like, they did explore it, like I said, in the earlier episodes. And I just wish they would have gone more as they went along with the story where like, potentially Danny could have gotten an episode where, Taylor's out of commission, Cole's out of commission, Merrick's out of commission, and Danny has to take command of the team. And I would have liked to have seen the guy who was, so closed off, who couldn't really do much, the weakest of the team, basically, to be put in a position of being in charge and has to lead because, it's either because he never, like everyone says, he never gives up, so he would be the one to be perfect to be tested as a leader, and I think it would have been great to see him in that role for 1 or 2 episodes, or at least show some initiative through the season. He was very much like Billy in the beginning of season 1. Billy just didn't know what to do. He could not fight properly. He was nervous. He fiddled too much with all the unimportant stuff when he should be focusing on fighting and, protecting the world and, of course, passing classes and stuff. So, but we saw Billy grow over, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and it would have been cool to see Danny do that through Wild Force.
Katie.
Now, Katie was a real missed opportunity, I believe. Katie, of course, was based off Domo from Time Ranger, and of course, they really could not do anything from the Time Ranger material, so that's why Katie kind of just simply was just there and really did not get anything to do, which is unfortunate because, okay, everyone always like, oh yeah, the clock episode was a filler, it was like very generic, but it was like really 1 of 2 episodes that Katie got focused on, and I think it was a missed opportunity there because, 1, it showed Estelle's good acting. She did work really well whenever she just, had time to work with, different characters. And the quirk of her being super strong really just didn't go anywhere. Yeah, they took it from Time Ranger, but then it's just like, what? Like, that, it was just there. It really didn't factor in much of anything. And then, she had this really cool chemistry with the guy in the past, and we know it was genuine because it wasn't like a dream, because we know from the picture frame it was she did go through a portal and did kind of change history in that regard. And it was kind of a missed opportunity. Like, either she found a descendant of the guy and they became friends. And I really think it would have been cool, kind of like a circle around her story, because there was a particular episode where she was so worried of changing history because, like, will my parents still be there? And it would have been kind of cool that she met the guy from the clock episode in the future, like a descendant, kind of like similar to like Wes. And they became friends, but then this was all still threatening history to be changed. Like, what do you do then? You break off the friendship? You never talk? It would have been kind of cool to see that aspect of Katie, and or, you know, deal with, you know, the oddities of her being super strong. Like, none of that nature ever came into play, and they just left Katie in the background to really be at most emotional support for Trip.
Kendall.
Now Kendall, oh, I will never forgive what they did to Kendall. It's just like, you did this whole big, you know, reveal setup for, you know, Kendall becoming a ranger at the end of season 1. And then after that, just do absolutely nothing with Kendall of season 2, especially in the series finale of Dino Charge, where she morphs and then does absolutely nothing. She just stays in the base. I understand, again, it comes down to having 10 rangers. Again, also Yayoi and Kyryuger didn't do anything either, which again, I didn't like either. It's just like, this is the problem of having so many rangers. And it's just like, but Kendall, because she was, yes, she had similarities to Yayoi, but she was the brains. She was the base of operations. She owned everything. She built majority of everything. She did everything. And I was like, she did nothing but basically Billy's command center portion, and that was it. And it was like, there was no reason for her to become a ranger because she just became so neglected. And it's a missed opportunity because, yeah, she did get one particular episode that, you know, delved into her a little bit, but nothing of, like, you know, there was no episode of Keeper with Kendall and focusing on them, or like how maybe she had problems becoming a ranger. Like, they don't give an aspect to like why she just didn't want to be an active ranger for so many episodes. Like, it could have been a quirk. Like, you know, not everyone would like to be a ranger. I think that's a missed opportunity in PR in general, where you have problems being a ranger, but you have to do it because you understand your responsibilities and frankly the team needs you, but still have that reservation of like, what if I screw up? What if I shoot someone by mistake? What if I didn't practice enough? It's like something of an aspect of, look, I run this museum, I have to be here, and it's just like a tearing problem between her two sides. I want to be a ranger, but I want to also, you know, run my business. It's kind of like what Connor went through in that particular episode with soccer. He ended up choosing being a ranger versus being the soccer, but it would have been cool to see someone actually deal with that for an entire season for her arc. Or maybe like near the series finale, she decided to become like more active in the ranger role, but in return, it kind of caused the museum to like close, and they have to deal with weird issues like that. It would have been kind of cool to work in the story elements of Kendall into the story more, but no. She morphs and then does nothing and sits in the base. And there's only one other character that was worse than Kendall.
Rocky.
I've had this complaint for years. From day one, if you've ever seen any of my videos, I've always hated this aspect of that Rocky got heavily neglected. I know it stemmed from the fact that Tommy was the leader of mmpr, and the rules of the Red Ranger being the leader got thrown out for that season. But it doesn't mean you ignore Rocky. And don't get me wrong, Rocky did get episodes that were good, but he was 99% neglected. You know, I don't mind that the Red Ranger did not become the leader, and I don't mind that Rocky was not the leader either. It's just the fact that you did not utilize him. And I really liked Rocky as a character. He was an improvement over Jason. Like, he basically had the elements of what was missing in Jason here. So I was like, okay, you're different from Jason. You have your own personality. You're fun. You're more lively. To put it, he's more interested in a lot of different subjects, like, you know, that's why he became a fireman. So that was cool. I like that they did that in the 30th anniversary special. But I'm looking at him from mmpr and even in Zeo. It's just like they gave him virtually nothing. except for a few episodes here and there, and of course everyone remembers the Pachinko machine. That's probably his most famous episode ever to come out of Rocky. We rarely ever got a chance to really know him in general. Yeah, he came from other places just like the other two Rangers, but I feel like Adam and Aisha got way more screen time. Whether, Adam became, second in command, which really should have been Rocky in a lot of cases. And Aisha got several episodes to be focused on in general. Like, you saw her interest, you saw some friend episodes. Unfortunate, departure in season 3, but at least, it was better than what they did in Turbo's movie, where I was like, he was doing a stupid martial arts fight and he sprained his leg, and then he got, passed over as a Turbo Ranger. I was like, really? So not only do you neglect him from mmpr and Zeo, the way you write him off is in such a crummy, crappy way. It's just like, why couldn't you actually have him as, like, I know they cut out a lot of footage in the Turbo movie where they did show the Zeo Rangers, but if you were going to show the Zeo Rangers in one proper fashion, it should have been Rocky. He should have been in a mission that was just done solo, and he should have just been taken out, one of the monsters. His suit got damaged to the point where it failed and the Zeo Crystal in his Zeonizer was destroyed. And then that could have caused a problem with all the other Zeo powers where they just were non-functional. So I'm even building onto the fact that it was just, Rocky just ran into a bad situation, destroyed his suits, which affected everyone, because the Zeo Crystals are tied to each other, right? They were that one giant crystal and they were split up, and then we know they can get stronger over time. But what if one of the crystals was damaged? It was just by happenstance that Divatox created this monster that overpowered Rocky. He did everything he could. He can showcase his ability as a fighter. He can showcase how he, showcase as he wanted to be a leader. And it was just maybe in this sense, it's like, I'm alone. I have this responsibility. And he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He got screwed. And that's why he got injured. And that's why the Zeo powers could have been temporarily lost in those regards, and we switched over to Turbo powers. It would have been a good way to redeem the lack of use of Rocky in the show, because it's like, oh my god, again, the Red Rangers from mmpr got neglected, and it was just really unfortunate. And then on top of it, it's just like insult to injury. Forever Red, he got ignored just because, again, he shares the position of Red Ranger in mmpr, so only Jason came back. It's just like the man doesn't get a break. Every which way, he always really got neglected, and I really think he was very underrated and underutilized. Now, there's a ton of other Rangers that are underrated that I could have put in the list. There's many more. Probably half of the Dino Charge cast could have been put on the list as well. It's just like, so many of them just got thrown to the wayside where they had a lot of potential. And there's also some that are like, there are some that I really didn't like Kevin, for example, from Samurai, where I would have liked to have put him on the list too, because again, every now and again, whether you hate the characters or you like the characters, there's always that potential that you see. It's like, wow, the actor actually acted really good in this scene. Like, where is this everywhere else? Or, wow, there's this quirk of this character in this one particular moment in the show, and I'm like, you feel human. Where is this everywhere else? Or, Troy, there's that little bit of oh my god, humanity right there, and then he's just not focused on this dumbass dream that doesn't go anywhere. I think one of the things that everyone really loves about Power Rangers is the interaction with characters, especially why people really love team-ups. I know team-ups are the main thing, oh my god, my favorite character comes back after a year later and we want to know where they've been. But I think the aspects of when Rangers work, or work off each other, where will this character hate each other? Will this particular quirk annoy someone? Bridge is standing on his head or doing the buttery thing. That could just be super annoying to a specific character from another season, and you would like to see that type of reaction. Definitely Kira would probably go insane if Bridge was with her for more than one episode. Or you would love to see one episode that had Sarah, Rose, Billy, Noah, Miss Fairweather, all the geniuses in the room, and they come out with this insane plan. Things like that. You like the characters because you can come up with so many different ideas, and all the characters, whether dumb or hated, there's a lot that could be done in the show, and it's just unfortunate that sometimes we just do not get anything with these characters. So yeah, what do you guys think? What are your underrated Rangers? Do you agree with the ones I came up with? Or do you say like, no, oh my god, there's no way to save Jaden, for example. Like, oh my god, I don't understand how you can like Dax. And it just annoys me more because it's just like, oh, you know, they could have done this, they could have done that, and there's like so many different ideas that come into my head, and it's like, I wish they did something like that. I think that's what makes it really hard when you see a Power Ranger season fail, is because of that potential that's right there, because it has so many zany characters and so many, you know, built-in goofiness that really could make an interesting show even better.